never fake it. My people. It's been a long time coming. I spent a long time running, grinding, and finding it's harder every day. Go deep into the mind of an overthinker, sitting on the brink of something new, made for a chosen few. Man, I'm tired of working for fish and chips. I'm trying to get paid.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a wonderful episode of We Are Who Our Ancestors Waited For. And today we have author Gregory Jackson, a spiritual educator, on the show to share his views and perspectives of how we could bridge the gap amongst the Blacks and Africans throughout the diaspora to bring our people together. Because that's what this show is all about, just trying to bring our people together so that we could begin the process of building God's kingdom. It's as simple as that. So we always like to start the show off with introductions from our guests. And now you have the floor, Brother Gregory. Let the world know who you are and what you do in life for a living.
Hello to everybody. My name is Gregory Jackson. I'm an author, spiritual educator. And what I study is, I guess, history, because a lot of times, as generations progress, we're born into situations that we don't even think to look back on to see how we got to those situations. So what I've sort of done or do in my time is to just go back. Like they say, I took the red pill. And once you take the red pill, like, ain't no turning back. You can't pretend like you don't know what you know. So once you do that, you keep going. And it's a lot of it ain't cute. It's some horrific stuff that has been done that we've just sort of taken as normal. And it's not normal. I don't think people, well, I'll put it this way. I think people are smart enough to know how to be happy and how to survive and how to feed their family and how to love their wives and take care of their children. So the obstacles that we're facing are invisible obstacles that was placed in front of us. So I'm here to dismantle some of them, and hopefully some of what we go through today sticks to some, and just have people open up and just like tap into a part of their mind that they are not used to tapping into. This is not normal for a people that basically created almost everything. That's astonishing to me to look at all the history, what we've built, what we've accomplished, what we've triumphed through to be in the position that we're in. So, yes, I want to be part of ending that and connecting our ancestors to the future through us so that we can get on the right page and get back to the community that we grew up in, where we raised each other's kids. We weren't so distant.
Well, the way you put it, it reminds me of why God put it in the heart and show we are who our ancestors waited for. Because we're that generation.
Yes.
We have all the possibilities and resources in the world to build God's kingdom. There's nothing stopping us but us. And I like how you talked about how ugly history is, because they say that history is like peeling an onion. The more layers you peel, the more it stinks. Because of all the atrocities that has happened and the lies that's being told. We up on all the different veils of lies and falsehoods and deception that we don't know how bad history actually is because of the lies that we've been told.
Yes.
I would like for Brother King Fadana Joe to go ahead and introduce himself as always and give us a little bit about who he is and what he does. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you so much, Mr. Timothy. You can hear me loud and clear?
You're fine,
yes, sir.
Thank you. So first of all, I want to thank the brother that joined us today as our guest, and to our viewers out there, we are here one more time. We are the people that our ancestors waited for, and we fail to disappoint them. We are here, and we are proud of that. And we believe that it takes a generation to save a generation, or that generation to save Africa. And there is no going back. And that's the reason why, whether it's rainy, whether it's sunny, whatever is happening to us, we make sure that we are here to give you the knowledge about Africa that so many of you do not know. And at the end of the day, knowledge is power. Is not applied, is not powerful at all. So we always bring people on this show that have applied that knowledge and it is working for them, and they are not selfish. They want to extend their hand out there to educate all of us who are wise enough to listen to the knowledge that we have to have right now in order to go forward. Having said all of that, my name remains King Fazan Ajo, your brother in the struggle. And the reason why I always say your brother in the struggle is because this knowledge that we are trying to give out there, it is a struggle because the system is set against us. And the more we try to like put the knowledge out there, the more the system is set to work against us. But we are not going to stop, because the generation after us will not be anything like us, but they will find life more easier. So I have done a lot of stuff. I have written at least 7 to 8 books, and most of my books have been published by Mr. Timothy, who put this show together. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much somebody want to go. You cannot go all by yourself. You need somebody to give you a helping hand. And the reason why our race has been so much behind is that we hardly help each other. We hardly see good in one another. In fact, right now, the most horrible stuff that have been said about a black person to another black person have been said by a fellow black person. So I just want us to know that this is also very important. So we are here today one more time. And please, whatever you are doing, and if you come across this video, do not stop watching until you get the knowledge. Do not stop watching until you get the knowledge. We are who our ancestors waited for. We are going to say all the truth. We are not going to hold it back. And that's why we are not on TV. We have our own podcast, whereby we will not be canceled or we will not be restricted on what to say. None of the truth will be filtered. It doesn't matter how bitter the truth that you are about to hear may sound. Do not shy away, because some of us are so scared of the truth. If it is hurting us, we just turn it off. Do not turn it off. Listen, watch until the end. I thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for that. I just want to give the brother Gregory a response, chance to reply if he would like to interject or say anything about what the brother just said.
He spoke eloquently. I guess I can just, like he said, the truth. I have a book coming out, and it's literally titled, The Truth is the Cure. If we can deal with the truth, we can be cured, and that's with anything, sickness, body sickness, mental illness. If you can deal with the truth, you can be cured. And that's the primary reason why we hurt so bad, is because a lot of us don't want to deal with the truth. And I understand it, because it was programmed in us through brute instructions, a lot of lives lost. And, if you look back at how it was done, what the Black female had to witness, what the Black males went through, what the children had to witness. And I'm talking like, earlier, like 400 years ago. And then as the generations progressed, they didn't witness that, but the fear is still in our DNA to pass on to the next generations. So, but this generation is different, because we're not so invested in, or I'll say believing in, going to the church building no more. These kids of today are not packing the church. So something is going on. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because now we have the internet, so they're being programmed that way instead of being programmed through colonialized teachings. So I write a lot about fathers and our roles and our importance and the strength of our spirit, over the family. That's the only thing that can protect these women and children, but it's the women who basically is, in my opinion, it's hard to get to see us as the men that we are. They've been programmed to see white Jesus. They waiting on white Jesus when the world is just destroying them, and they holding steady. He gonna come one day. He gonna come, and they're raising kids with this same ideology. So I write a lot about fathers because we do make that difference. It's God, the Father, women, and children. And a lot of women are trying to bypass the man and go God, women, and children. And we can see it's not working because, here in America, we fill in the prisons. And without that father influence, that father touch that allows us to be emotionally stable, where we don't, just react and not make wise choices, that's what's killing us. These boys out here, they look like men, they got muscles and all of that stuff, but they have a lot of fear in them, because they weren't taught by a soldier, how to remain strong and think before you react to certain situations. So I don't want to take the stage, but yes, we do. I believe we all have a lot to say.
Well, I wanted to ask Brother King Fajan, do you know about the Willie Lynch letter?
Yeah, I heard about it, but not. I don't know much about it, but I heard about it.
Well, I'm gonna send you a copy of it so you can read it, because it's the actual psychosis that we see playing out today. Like the brother was saying, when it comes to the women, and the fear in men, it started on the plantation when Black people were slaves. And it's kind of sad when I hear Africans say that they don't give a damn about slavery and they don't want to hear or talk about slavery. But it's like, if you don't want to hear or talk about slavery, then you don't want to know Black people.
Yes.
You're never going to know about Black people. You're never going to really know the struggles that Black people are facing or the life that we're living over here in America if you don't know about slavery. Not all Black people were free, but the Black people, not all Black people were slaves, I should say, in America, but even the ones who were free during slavery and the ones who were slaves, we have a disconnect that keeps our people divided, and that's a problem as well. So what we're seeing today in America is actually people try to say that the Willie Lynch letter was a fabrication, but you can't really say it's a fabrication if it's the actual reality that we're living. That's why I tell the people who don't believe in the Bible, it don't matter if you believe in the Bible or not, you're living by it.
Yeah.
Today's 2024 because Jesus died 2024 years ago. So it doesn't matter if you believe it or not, because the laws that were placed in America were put in place based upon the Constitution that was going by the Bible. And so when the brothers say about the fear and how we're being raised, the children are being raised over here, it reminds me of my own mother and how she tried to raise me to believe like what most mothers raise their children to believe, which is the lies that we're being told. And it wasn't until I got out of prison that she told me that she was trying to raise me, to believe these lies just to keep me safe. Because she was in fear of what the white man would do to me if I knew the truth. That comes from the plantation.
Yeah.
See, the thing about why I come from the plantation is because just like today, when men are getting shot and killed and stomped out by police on TV, that was going on the plantation.
Mm-hmm.
They would take the biggest, the strongest man and just chop his head off for no reason, but to instill fear in black people.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the biggest, strongest one on the plantation. And they would call up,
Mm-hmm.
who's next?
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nobody gonna just step up to get their heads chopped off. They were gonna fall in line and do whatever the white slave master said.
Mm.
And that's how they controlled the slave, by instilling fear in our African brothers and sisters on the plantation.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they kept the slaves in line and under control, and why there could be like one slave master with 200 or 300 or 400 black slaves out there working for him, and they don't even think about stepping up and taking over their slave master, even though they got him outnumbered 300 to 1.
And even the citizens,
yeah.
of the other slave plantations that's how our police forces got started, because runaway slaves. Back in 1850, we didn't have police officers. That was a colonized group that formed to maintain runaway slaves. And that was back in 1850. And today, that idea is still in our police officers today. And they don't even realize they're part of a bigger system. Like some of that brainwashing is separating us, telling them that we're the problems, and is having us be in fear of them. So we're still sort of running from them, and they're still sort of catching us and locking us up. And we have laws here. They say slavery ended unless you get locked up, and then you're able to still be a slave and produce free labor.
See, when you just mentioned earlier about how all this happened 400 years ago, which was the 1600s.
Mm-hmm.
We were slaves in the 1600s, right? Which was 400 years ago. Don't you know, like, when the Willie Lynch letter was wrote 400 years ago in the 1600s, that was the same time that the Bible was written in the King James Version.
Yes.
And that the Bible said the devil is loose for 1,000 years. And the Willie Lynch letter said these tactics will keep your slaves obedient for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
That 1,000 years hasn't passed yet. So we still got, according to the Bible and the Willie Lynch letter, we still got 600 more years to go up under the same mental psychosis that we're suffering from. Like the brother King says a lot about how the African people are even up under this mental psychosis. It's like a mental sickness. But this is what the Bible said will happen, and this is what what the Willie Lynch letter said will happen, and we're seeing it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no coincidences in the kingdom of heaven. So I just find it's not ironic, or it's no coincidence that the Willie Lynch letter and the Bible were both concocted at the same time. Yeah. And actually the Bible also speaks about how to control your slaves, and that a slave should be obedient. And the Bible talks about how the slave master should treat a slave.
Mm-hmm.
All these are no coincidences.
Right.
So I would like to open the floor, let Brother King Fajan give an opportunity to speak and respond to what we're just speaking on, because I like to get the African perspective of what we speak about, so that, like I say, we could bridge the gap between our brothers and sisters in Africa.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a pity that even on the continent where it's supposed to be our continent, we are not free. And this is the pain in the heart of everybody who is Black, that we are free people just on paper or on the word of mouth, but then in reality, we are not free people. In fact, most of the stuff that happens to our brothers and sisters in the diaspora is what we are experiencing right here on the continent. If you leave America and go to other continents, you will discover that the people at the bottom of the food chain are the Black people. And if we come on the continent, which belong to us as Africans, the poorest people and the most struggling people are the Black people, and they use the same tactic to keep us poor. They use the same ideology to keep us where we are today as a people. Because if you look at Africa, if there should be any, if there is heaven on earth, then the land of Africa should just be that heaven, because we got everything, man. Like the riches on the continent is so much that you can literally pick riches on the street. But the question the question here is that how come a continent this rich has produced so many poor people? Because there is a difference between having something and being the owner of that thing. I can have this suit, but then I might not be the owner. So there's the challenge that we have on the continent. The resources that we have, the riches that we have, they don't belong to us. They belong to people who do not even look like us. There was a time that the American president, the one that just got into power right now, Donald Trump, said something about Africa, calling us shithole. And I was like, but wait a second. Like, if there is any place that some of your biggest companies make most of their money is on the continent, and here is the thing: they have succeeded in making us so poor to a point that they decide what goes to us, and in fact, what we should have, and they successfully did that by dividing us. And the division that we have become so weak that we are not able to fight these people, not even in this generation that we are, not even in the generation to come, because psychologically we are divided, physically we are divided, we are weak in every sector. In fact, it's a pain that there is no big company on African continent that is owned by an African. I am sitting here in South Africa. All the big company, call all of them. In fact, the Jewish companies control even the water that we drink right here on the continent, and it is like that all over the continent. All the fragmented countries, the 54 fragmented dysfunctional countries that we call them countries, they are actually controlled by the people that do not look like us. If you go to Congo, Congo is the richest place on planet Earth. The richest place. In fact, there are places in Congo that you cannot dig this deep. You will get gold. I was telling Mr. Timothy of how many people just want investment into their mines here in South Africa. So what these guys will do is that they will invest 90%. They will invest money and take 90% share. Because even if a Black person owns a mine here, they do not have money to make it operational. So the guy that is coming from China has more power over that mine, and he can get more shares and own the mine. Of recent, Chinese went to Zimbabwe and bought a massive mine for chrome, and they just lock it up. So the thing is, my joy with this kind of conversation is, if we look on our poster, we say that we are not a talk show, we are a doer show. I remember there was a time I wanted to bring somebody on this show, and trust me, brother, like for you to be here with us is because we see what you're doing and we see how you are trying to make it different. Timothy will always tell me that we are not looking for celebrities to come and talk here. We are looking for people who are doing something, people who are doing projects. There are a lot of projects that Mr. Timothy is doing right now with people on the continent. So here is the thing: whosoever is listening to us, whosoever is listening to us, it is the 21st century. It is the 21st century right now. And I always call myself a 21st century African. The reason is simple. No matter what was taken away from us, it is possible that we can reclaim it. And when I talk to my brothers and sisters in the diaspora, my question to them is always, why is it that we see the Chinese here? Why is it that we see the Arabs here? Why is it that we see the Europeans here? Why is it that we see every other person apart from people that looks like us? The richest black people on earth, they are the African Americans, but you will never see them coming here to take up the mines, take up all of these things that other people are taking. Africa is the future, yes, but the future for who? For the Chinese or for the Arabs? Because if we do not stand up, I'm telling you, one day, and the reason why I pause a little bit, am I even saying one day, or it's currently happening, that we are still slaves on our very continent?
Well, the brother Gregory, he could tell you, it's taught, if you can control the mind, you can control the body. So yeah, that's all that's taking place. You know, it goes back to the slavery. It even goes further back to slavery, because Adam wasn't made to die. Adam was supposed to live forever. When God created Adam, he wasn't supposed to die. And so when you think about the story of Adam and Eve, it takes place in Africa. So we're not taught how Adam and Eve birthplace was in Africa. And when sin entered the world, whether people believe it or not, we have to know that these are allegories. These are spiritual battles that we're facing that keeps our people divided. And we're over here being taught things that make us not want to go to Africa, not want to be a part of each other's lives. Like Africans, they're looking at TV and they thinking, oh, these are how Black people act. These are how Black people are. Like you said, Black people are the most powerful Black people on earth in America. But that's just a portion of that you see on TV. You know, over here, we're divided just as bad as you're divided over there. Or even probably even more, because we have a lot of opportunities and resources. We don't have to be divided. We choose to be. That's a sin within itself. One of the greatest sins is being divided from your own people because you choose to be. I wanted to give Brother Gregory a chance to respond as always, because his input is very, very important.
Yeah, you mentioned being divided in the Willie Lynch letter. It divides the older males from the kids, the women from the men, the dark skin from the light skin, and that's everything that we're facing today. You know, the latest of our women want to be independent women, you know, and when you say independent of what? Independent of men, you know. So, and they say that, but yet they have the children. So in my experience, yeah, I have been married and divorced, and you know, when you divide the man from his children, that's what the system wants, because most of the children are going to end up in prison or on some type of substance, you know, or on OnlyFans, or what is it, OnlyFans? Yeah, girls are going to end up on the pole. Boys going to end up, you know, in the prison, and prison system is big business here. You know, they can calculate and say to almost to the T how many prisons to build. Like they're building prisons now just for the future, because they know we got this thing called prison to pipeline, or what is it, school to prison pipeline, where they can know in school how many daddies are, in that family, that's going to predict how many people are, or how many young Black kids are actually going to end up in prison. And they got that down to a science. We had this thing called welfare, where it told the women, we'll give you money if you kick the dads out the homes. And they fell for it. And in my opinion, the Bible, I look at it as a spiritual book. So the stories that are in there are our stories. It's Black people's stories. So the Adam and Eve story to me represents the, snake, the serpent, is the one who told the female, if you eat this apple or whatever that represents, you'll be more knowledgeable. You have your independence. And that's basically what's showing today. So they have this independence, but the snake didn't tell them, this is a trap. We're doing this so we can get your kids. Whoever got the kids got the world. So rather the kids end up being a professional basketball player like LeBron James, or locked up, they still got us one way or another. Because you mentioned the Jewish people, they own our NBA. And we don't own any of those sports. Baseball, football, basketball, we don't own any of that, but we're 70 to 80% of the population, playing. So it's all around. And they even have it into those most rich Black people's contract that will make you millionaires, but you can't go back and help your community. We got to watch where those dollars are. You can buy 20 Range Rovers and this big old house that you don't need, but you can't go back and help your community. So a few of our athletes, they try, but they're usually singled out as villains, for trying to stand up for peace, trying to look back and help the community. They're labeled as crazy. A lot of times they'll put that label on you, you're crazy. And they just make life difficult for people who are trying to stand up for, the majority or the less fortunate.
Yeah. Yes, they make life hard for you.
I wanted to go back to what Brother King was saying about Africa being controlled by all the different other races. My belief is that the reason Africa is being controlled by all these other people is because our own people are the people who enslaved us. And the Moors are some of the biggest lies and traitors in the world, because the Berber Moors from North Africa are the ones who started slavery and enslaving their own brothers and sisters in Africa, our people. And they lied about it. Not only did they lie about it, they were worse to our people than the Europeans were when we were in slavery. They used more barbarous and more atrocious tactics to keep us slaves than the Europeans used. They treated us way worse. And that history never been told before, because they wanted to keep that hidden. And so that's why all these other countries are actually controlling Africa, and they're not our people, because our people are the people who enslaved us. And Haiti is the same way. Haiti's going through that right now. The men over there doing a lot of barbarous stuff to the women over there. There's no mental health resources or no type of mental health platforms or help. And so these people are just sick in the head, wanting to rule countries and rule women and rule over other men. It's a sickness in the mind that is not being kept in check, which is why all these countries are ruling Africa. And you see how a lot of the African pastors are over there taking advantage of the parishioners and just lying to them and sleeping with the women. And it's just a crazy sickness that's happening over there. And I like how the brother brought up also how over here the men are divided from the women from the child. All that stuff is in the Bible, telling us how we be once we fall up under the hands of the conquerors. And like I was mentioning earlier, how the Bible and the Willie Lynch letter is like saying the same thing. The Bible said what was going to happen. The Willie Lynch letter just told them how to do what the Bible was saying to keep their slaves in line for 1,000 years. Like the Bible said, do this, the devil's going to be loose for 1,000 years. So all we're seeing is, like I tell people, prophecy being fulfilled right before our eyes. Prophecy is being fulfilled starting in 2012 from my knowledge and what I learned. So,
and like, what connects the Willie Lynch letter to the Bible is King James. Yeah. He was right there at that same moment, you know, putting his spin on things. And that's the book that we are so dear to the most. You know,
let me tell you something. When he gave not to cut you off, but when he gave the Willie Lynch letter, gave his speech, do you know where he was standing at?
Where?
At the King James River.
Yeah.
So I say there is no coincidence, like what you were saying earlier about the snake told Eve this, and it's a spiritual book and all this. The snake is representative, is basically was the symbol of Egypt, where it was Kemet. And when the Bible says, if you eat upon this fruit, or if you eat upon this, you know, you will for surely die. This tree is of good and evil and all that. All these are symbolisms because they don't want to tell us or teach us about the teachings of Egypt, which was Kemet back then, which is why they call it the King James Version.
Right.
You know, when they talk about the snake and the serpent, they're actually talking about Egypt. But they tell us don't go and study Egypt, don't do this. But I stopped listening to them and I went and studied Egypt to learn that all this is symbolism and allegory, and if it tells you it's allegory, they tell you this allegory. So if it's allegory, these stories are not literal; they're spiritual.
Right. Yes.
And so that's what the Egyptian teachings. There were spiritual teachings, and it wasn't Egypt. The Egypt is when it became twisted when we started calling it Egypt. The truth was Kemet, which they don't want us to know about. So when they started learning about themselves, and that was another thing, learning about themselves, because when you enter a pyramid, and the whole premise of our Kemetic teachings, they call it Kemetic teaching, is that the premise of the teachings is to know thyself. So the King James Version twisted around our African spirituality and put it into the King James Version, which is a physical version. And people take the physical version literal because that's what the Europeans and all the other people want them to do, is take it literal when it's spiritual. Yes. They don't want them to get the spiritual message because, like we were talking before, Brother Gregory, they don't have the melanin that we have to understand this logic.
Right. Yeah.
So they want us to take it literal because melanin is what make us so spiritual. And they don't have that.
Right.
And so they twisted it around, and now we're living in this bizarro world that they created.
And what they did when they rewrote it is actually added their character in it, you know, as the slave master. So all the evidence is in there. It's, again, you know, how you look at that Bible. You know, it's a manual. It's everything that's going on now. And you say if you look at it literally, you'll miss the message. But if you look at it spiritually, it's what's going on today. And then it's also called a script because that's what you read in a movie. You know, it's different people read different scriptures. So at any given time, you can play any role in that Bible. And there's so many stories in there that it gives you the outcome of the story. You know, Adam and Eve, you do this. Cain and Abel was their kids, and they end up killing each other because of the results of Adam and Eve. You know, so yeah, Cain and Abel is the kids in the streets killing each other. You know, so that's the whole story. I mean, you pick a story out of there, somebody's experiencing that story. But when you look at it literally, you can't get out of it. It's like, you know, that's what they want you to do. Look at it literally. Like Jesus is coming back literally. This Caucasian guy with blonde hair is literally coming back one day to save us from the same people who he looked like.
Even with Adam and Eve, when she bit the apple, I should say, you know, it's not a literal story of her biting the apple. It's a spiritual lesson about how women want the things that they see.
Yeah.
The apple is representative of what people see and want will destroy them, which is what the TV is all about. I tell them the apple represents the television today.
Yeah.
And how the television is what's destroying nations. And why I keep telling Africans they need to throw their televisions out to save the future of Africa.
Wow, this is deep, man. Like for me, every time we are here, I learn a lot, and this is the joy that I always look forward for every Sunday, because since we started this show, we have not brought on here someone that cannot give us this knowledge that we so much need, because we must understand that everything that we are going through right now, especially on the continent, because I've never been to America or out of Africa, so I wouldn't know the reality of other Black people. But if we look at our reality as Black people on the continent, everything that we're going through today is because of misformed education. Right, and they gave us what they call education, in which I don't see it as education. I see it as indoctrination. They make us think very small of ourselves. They make us think that because I always tell my student, how come is it that all of you here, your dream is to graduate and work for a certain company, and all of these companies are owned by other people? How come is it so hard for us also to dream of having our own big companies that people will study to come and work for us? How come their education is all about making us loyal slaves? And if we look at it, this is how the system works here in Johannesburg or South Africa, where I'm sitting. You go to school, right? You earn a degree, then now you are qualified to work for somebody. You wake up very early in the morning, and you are there at the workplace until late in the evening. And now they'll make sure that they pay you just enough for you to pay your salary, to pay your rent, and also pay the credit. The credit guys are giving you cars, giving you houses that you will live your whole life paying it, and you cannot go away from that job. And you have now automatically become a slave because you got a car to pay, you got a house to pay. And so it becomes so hard for anybody to really live their dreams. It becomes so hard for anybody to really do something worthwhile. We are just surviving in every sector. We are just surviving as Black people wherever you go. How can I ever leave this place where I'm working? If I leave, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to eat? If I leave, who is going to take care of me and my family? So we, because of that, we live in constant fear of becoming the real self that we were created to be, the powerful people that we were created to be. And even certain things we cannot say because that will take food out of our mouth. And because these guys that are the ones feeding you, they detect what you should say.
Well, I want to go back to what you said, that we don't own what we have, because we're actually demons We're demons, bro. We're living in hell because we're demons. We're slaves to the devil. If you're a slave to the devil, you're a demon. We don't own the words coming out of our mouth.
Yeah.
This is a language they created.
Yeah.
They created this language and gave it to us, so we're possessed by them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I try to tell people about when they call it Congo the Republic, they call America Republic. You know, when we call ourselves a republic, we're calling ourselves their subjects. Right. That's the definition. We're calling ourselves their possessions. So if we're calling ourselves their possessions, we're possessed by them. So that makes us demons.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think we're living in hell?
Yeah. To add to that, as soon as we're born, we're given a number, Social Security number, and it's registered. And, you know, as soon as we have a kid, if you have a kid here and you don't register your kid, they can come and take your kid. Wow. So they've created a system so tight that the only way we can get out is mentally. Like, you can't get out of it physically. You have to understand the system. You have to go back and understand the history, because one thing they can't take is your thoughts, your mind, your perception, how you perceive things. But if we continue to allow ourselves to be indoctrinated instead of unlearning what we thought we knew, it's going to be hard to get out of this.
Brother, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want you to repeat that again so that people who are watching us will understand. You said the system is too tight that you cannot get out of it physically. You can only get out of it mentally.
Mentally, yes.
Please,
we've been programmed.
Can you elaborate on that further, please?
Yes, we've been programmed since birth. Like, going back 400 years, that's when it was brutal. But when we wake up, you know, we wake up to a system where we have to, you know, you're born in a hospital. They give you a number, a card. That's your number for the rest of your life, unless you can change it or understand how to change it and get out of the system. But this is a corporation that, you know, we're the product here. You know, we are what other countries come here to basically feast off of. We're the biggest spenders. We got to have the Jordans, the gold chains, all of this stuff that we don't make. You know, we're trying to look like them and be accepted by them. And we can't get out of that physically. We have to, like what we're doing, you know, the meetings of the mind, we have to come together and say, okay, you know, history, if we can go back and logically look at history, we can get out of this. But as a mass, it's almost like one mind at a time, because the masses is under that spell, you know, that possession. You know, it's a possession, basically. So we can't, like I said, physically, you can't fight your way out of it. They're the police, they're the government, they're this. But the one thing that they cannot control is how we think. Well, they have controlled how we think, but that's the only thing that we can control, how we think.
We call it being mentally enslaved.
Yeah.
The African continent is mentally enslaved, just like the Black community in America is mentally enslaved. Like I said earlier, they know if you control the mind, you control the body, because that's what's taught in the Bible. So all they're doing is taking the Bible and using it against us. Like we call it, they're taking our ancestors' knowledge and sciences and they're using it against us. You know,
and it's making us kill ourselves.
See, the thing about it, like, God gave us all the same tools to use. The devil and us, we all got the same. There's no different tools to use. It's up to us if we're going to use the tools God gave us for good or bad. But the good in the world is being overtaken and overran by the bad in the world.
Yes.
That's why the devil is winning, because you have more people doing bad and trying to do bad things than you have people trying to do good things. And that's it. That's all. And like I say, and the brother just said, we're possessed by them.
Mm-hmm.
We're
They
possessed,
create.
trying to
They
be like.
create.
One thing we don't have on this show, if you notice, we don't have guests who have the colonized mindset.
Yeah, no, we have not had one.
Uh,
We have
that's
not
the
had
difference.
one.
That's the
Yes.
difference between this show and most of the shows out there. The guests on this platform, they don't have the colonized mindset. They have the kingdom building mindset that could free the world.
Yes.
So, brother, I wanna ask you a few questions. So, what is the solution that this book is going to provide for the Black race to at least find their way out of the mental slavery that we are in? What form of education exactly is it gonna bring on the table for a young person on the continent, or the young person, a young Black person in America or Europe, to read it and say, aha, I now I'm educated and I'm gonna be free.
Well,
I
first of all,
actually have this.
before you start, we don't want them to be educated. We want them to be enlightened. Go ahead, Brother Greg.
Okay. Okay.
I actually have this book divided into 4 parts: the therapy, society, religion, and relationships. But now that I'm talking to you, I want to somehow include Africa, connecting with Africa in it, because it's so important, because Black people are everywhere. And everywhere that Black people are is experiencing the same thing.
Exactly.
So if we can come together, like we're bringing nations together right now, me and you, because we have that same yearning or that same passion to stop this craziness that's going on. And I'm sure people are hearing this. You know, there's people that are tuned in. I don't know how big the show is, but what we're talking about is huge. And you guys are solutions. The solutions, we're the solutions. Like, we have to raise our boys. We have to raise our girls, because, you know, it's about family, you know, because you can have a great man, but if you don't have no family, you're basically alienated and you're an easy target. You know, being an individual makes us, or like they said, it's divide and conquer. You know, we need to come together, you know, start small and grow it. And start with our kids. You know, we teach boys how to be men. We teach them how to have emotional intelligence and emotional restraint. And we teach our girls, you know, what to look for in a man. So that's why they've taken parenting, for the most part, out of the man's hands and give it to the emotional being, which is the mother. She loves us, but that's sort of the easy love. Like in Africa, I don't know what the age is, so correct me, but I know after a certain age, the men take the boys and they raise them to be men. That's not so here. We're not able to get to them. You know, our court system, 90% of our court cases end up with the mother getting the kids, and we have to pay her and the kids. So they don't care about that's how they separate us here. And then that creates this, you know, give me more money. You ain't giving me no money. I won't let you see your kids. You know, so we need to start with kids. Like, we can't, and it's almost, I hate to say this, but after a certain age of being programmed, especially for a female, because at least men, we can tap into some logic and some reasonings, but being an emotional being, you know, you can only really see past your emotions, you know? So, you know, we need to find mates that agree with our ideology, you know, and protect them and grow that family, you know, and make sure you are putting the programs in the minds of your kids. You know, watch the cell phone. You know, here our kids get cell phones at the age of 2, 3 years old, and they already know how to go through it and, we can't, that's part of the program, the cell phone,
mm,
the TV, letting them
mm,
watch TV all day. Those are programs, so
mm,
we need to put the TV down, put the cell phone down, and spend time with our family, because we're the first teachers that, have the women teach the kids.
mm,
So it starts in the family. I don't believe we can go out into like a mass of church people, because you don't really know their background. You don't know
mm,
if they hate men. You don't know if they're gay. You just don't know how bad they've been programmed. So it starts
mm,
with men, being more selective with who we choose as wives and who we choose
mm.
to have children with.
Yeah, it
Because the
starts with
melanin in our skin, go ahead.
like you say, it starts with the men first and foremost. We have to be better men.
Mm-hmm.
Over here and like even in Africa, it's probably like this all over the world. Knowing our people, that because we have like the biggest egos in the world. So the men, we're like competing against each other, and we look at
Mm-hmm.
each other sideways. We don't help each other. So it's mostly the men letting each other down as brothers. See, we can't blame
Yeah.
the women for how the women act, because
Right.
the women been holding it down ever since the women been here. The women been
Mm-hmm.
holding it down. It's us men. We don't look out for each other. They have sisterhood. We don't have no brotherhood. They have a
Right.
motherhood. We don't really have a fatherhood. We're the ones who's known for running out on our kids, not the women. So we can't blame the women really for anything, because even
Mm-mm.
after the slavery and going into the Reconstruction period, and when they started even allowing people to go to college, the men oppressed the women. Even the black men oppressed the women and tried to keep the women down. When we talk about Booker T. Washington and Frederick Douglass and all these people, they were oppressing women as well. And
Yes.
just like a child, if you're a hypocrite, the child is going to rebel against you.
Mm-hmm.
So all a woman does is going to rebel against our hypocrisy and our lunacy, which they have been up under from the men being in charge.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the understanding we have to have. We have to be better men. We have to be better fathers.
Yeah.
Or else we can't even be a good leader. We can't be the men God created us to be if we keep being the way that
Right.
we are.
Yes.
No, we have to set the example to like how all these fools out here trying to get a woman to submit. A woman ain't gonna submit to you, fool.
Mm-mm.
Mm,
You'll do it willingly if you're the right type of person, if you're the right
Yeah.
type of man, if you're holding down your business as the head of a household. But if
Yes.
you out here being a hypocrite, you running around, you're not doing what you're supposed to, hell nah, a woman ain't gonna submit to that.
Right.
And that's it. That's
mm,
all. We have to hold ourselves accountable. When I started my first organization, that's what it was all about. I'm gonna hold myself accountable first. I'm gonna be responsible for my own actions. And then when I become
mm.
responsible for my own actions, then I can hold other people accountable.
Yes.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
So you asked,
Great.
I didn't really get to elaborate, but you asked the content of the book. So it's
Yes.
in 4 parts, and now I have to like think, how can I incorporate Africa in a fifth
Okay.
section? But the first part is therapy. It talks about the programming and all of the unprogramming that we have to tap into, because when we go back in history, sometimes we don't go back far enough.
Yeah.
But we need to go back to the root of it. Like if we have to go back and just say all of this was a lie, and then start over, and then say, okay, I can accept that, but it's so much that it's all like, you really have to go back, to, for us, I would say 400 years, because a lot of us don't know if we came from Africa or if we were already here in the Americas. This ain't our language. this ain't our last name. I have a slave master's last name, So, yeah, I do a lot of study. I'm actually, I did a few last names to see what plantations I came from, and it all makes sense when you go back. This connects to that connects to that, and the slave trade connects in all the time. It really, if you think about it, 400 years is not a lot of time, but a lot happened in 400 years. So even just go back to that is, a lot of people don't want to face the truth. They're just so programmed. I'm just going to wait, put it all, let God drive, put it in his hands. And it's this cognitive dissonance that they walk with. That's, it's hard to watch. But then the second would be society. Society is basically all the lies, it talks about the language, it talks about the indoctrination, it talks about the Bible, it talks about Jim Crow, it talks about, all the societal systemic traps, that has been put in place. The third is religion. It talks about how there's 1,000 different religions, but only one God, What common sense does that make? Why would that be if we're all under one God? We all believe it's one God, but yet we're divided. How, why, who divided us? What was the purpose of dividing us? So that's the third part. And the last part is relationships, how important a father is in his role, how important, you picking the right wife, how important it is that your kids have you in their life. Like I said, the fifth section of it is how, you're in Africa and we're in America, but yet we're experiencing the same thing. And we need to open this up, because as long as we're divided, then we can't fight together. I want to fight with you because we're fighting the same cause.
Yeah. And I think that would be very important. You will see the structural division that happened on the continent. So first of all, it was the border division that took place in Berlin, Germany, in 1884 to 1885. They sat, and the map of Africa that you see, that is not even our map. That is a lie. And they divide these countries. If you come on the continent, like here, the name of the country I'm sitting is called South Africa. What is that? Like a direction or a location as given by them. You go to like if you are to Nigerian, what is the meaning of Nigeria? They don't know. So we do not know who we are as a people. Just like you saying that you went through and you start to trace to see which plantation your last name came from. Not many of us can sit down and even think about that. Not many of us can even sit down and think about the name of the country that we find ourselves in. So if you come in here, we are fragmented into 54 countries. Some of these places, they are not even up to 2 million people in one place. And what that does is that whatever is happening in this region, these other guys will say it is not my country, so it's none of my business. And so what these guys will do is that, for example, if any country from Europe is coming to negotiate business with any country in Africa, they don't come as a country, they come as an European Union. So when they come as European Union, they negotiate business with a small place or small fragmented place called country in Africa. And they can now take whatever they want to take. If they come to South Africa and they want to take platinum, they don't have many people to negotiate with. It is the president and his friends. Then these people can decide to give them whatever they wanted But remember, the price that they're giving to them is much price because they're using that money just for them, for their family and their friends. So $1 million will look so much if we're using it just for you and your family and your friends. But if we're using it for a community, that is not very much. So these people, what they have done is that this fraction or this division is working on their behalf so much. And if we look at it, this divisional lines, none of them are actually created by us. It's created by them. Then, if you get into countries, you will now discover that these people have a different religion, and these people have a different religion, and all of these religions, they are religions that they are created by them, not by us. And then these people, this group of people, will not want to have anything to do with this group of people because they belong to a certain religion and all of that. So it is just messed up on a different level. All the structures that are created by them, they are actually being maintained by us.
Yes.
We're going through the same thing over here. See,
yes.
I want to go back to what Brother Gregory Jackson was saying about going back. I want to go back to the conversation we had when I called you on the phone, Brother Gregory, about, because I always tell people that they don't go back and study history far enough. And so they can't even imagine how ignorant they are.
Right.
I remember I was telling you how I broke the Bible down in Hebrews. But I didn't break the whole Bible down. I just broke, it just blew my mind from just reading about Genesis and the creation, about how they say that God created the world in 7 days, and we think it meant the week, but when you go back and study the Bible in relation to Hebrews, and if you read it word line for line, the dictionary will break it down for you. If you we have these mental blocks and stuff. We think we know what, we're reading when we read things, but we really don't know, because how the English language is constructed, one word can mean a lot of different things. Just like when it says the Bible is written and the Bible was created in 7 days, but when you go and you look up the word day, the day actually means a period. It tells you this in the dictionary, but it don't tell you in the Bible when it says 7 days. Days in Hebrew mean a period, which could be 24 hours. It could mean era or eon, which is, thousands of years. But we think it means 24 hours when we think of the day, because that's what we're taught. We're not taught a day actually means eons, a period, or era, which could mean 1,000 years. And that's how we've been programmed to think, according to how they want us to think. We haven't been programmed to go and look up what they're telling us to believe. So days, like when you say the Bible was created in 7 days, it could be 6,000 years, it could be 7,000 years, it could be 7 million years, all because of what day actually means.
Yes.
Just knowing that, just knowing that little part right there just opened my mind to how much the Bible has been twisted up in our own minds because we don't know Hebrew. If we knew Hebrew, we have a whole different understanding of what the Bible is actually saying, to understand we haven't actually been lied to according to what the Bible is saying. We've been lied to according to what they're teaching us. So people think that the Bible is lying. No, the Bible isn't really lying like that. Like I said, if you know that the Bible is allegory, if you know the original language that the Bible in, you would know the truth, that you're just being lied to by the people teaching you about the Bible. So that's why I say we should always go back to the very beginning, which is the book of Genesis. And once we start breaking down the book of Genesis, that will open up a can of worms, like they say, Pandora's box. We start peeling that onion to realize how much we've been lied to and how much it stinks. And so what I was saying to you about how when you were talking about all the different fragmented states and how people act the countries and how people act in those different countries, we act the same way over here in these states because of how possessed we are like demons. Whether we're in California, we're down south, or we're in New York, we have that same tribal mind state where we're constantly at odds with each other just because of what state we're from. And then within these states, we're at odds with each other because of what city we're from. And then we're at odds of each other because of the gangs that we're from. So you have all your different white gangs, you have black gangs, you even have Asian gangs in America. They don't like each other. And then in each race, from the blacks, we have gangs, they don't like each other. You got gangs in the Asian race, they don't like each other. You have gangs in the white race, they don't like each other. White supremacists don't even like each other. Because you have the skinheads, you got the skinheads, which is the bald head white supremacists. Then you got the KKK, with Ku Klux Klan. They don't even like each other. They're both white supremacists. When you say religion, when you're speaking of, you got these different religions and all this, and when I started thinking about the gangs, all those are cults. CULTS, they're just different cults that are taught to believe these different ideologies. So not only are we divided, they're divided too. But none of us created this stuff. It was the rich people who created this stuff. The same people who crucified Jesus are the same people who created all this here stuff to keep us from knowing that they actually crucified Jesus. And these are the same people that's teaching us today.
The Roman Empire.
It's just all reverse psychology. Is what I learned. They use reverse psychology to keep the masses, they call us, fighting against ourselves instead of fighting against the oppressor.
Yes.
So the same thing you talk about how we're divided over there in Africa, it's the same over here in America. We just call them states. You call them country, we call them states. When they call the United States of America, you say they got 54 countries, we got 52 states over here, and we're all fighting against each other. And then the gangs over here, the black gangs, they fighting over a color of a rag. So if you carry a black rag, a red rag, like I'm from this gang, I represent this red flag, they're gonna kill you if you wear a blue flag. It has nothing to do with anything except for I live on this street, I live in this part of the town. So if you're from that part of the town, you come over here, they're in the same city. They're not just the same, they're in the same community. That's how fragmented it is.
Going through the same struggles.
It's like a community, and the community could be like 10 miles apart, 5 miles apart. So in these 5 or 10 miles, there's a lot of killing going on because of a color of a flag. That's it. That's all. Nothing else. And these are poor people. Poor black people are killing each other because of a color of a flag. That's why I say we're demons. We're just demons, and we don't want to believe that. But that's the reality that we're living, and why we're living in hell. And then, like you say, you got the European Union, how they'll travel as the European Union. They don't travel, the gangs operate the same way. They feel there's power in this flag. I represent this gang. So if I go over here, I'm going to go represent my gang. We're going to go as a gang. And gangs go and they take over. That's what they're talking about when they talk about migration over here in America. There's a gang coming from the south border, coming over here to America, taking over cities. That's why they're mad at Biden and Kamala Harris, because when you hear say the open border policy and these gangs, they call them migrants just walking across the border. We know there's gangs walking across the border, and now they're, Chicago is a perfect place where the gangs, the black gangs, are now fighting with the Mexican gangs, but on TV they're calling them migrants. I'm like, the TV is the problem. The TV is the one that's feeding all this misinformation to people and keeping us divided and ignorant of what reality really is.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True.
You know, I travel a lot to the Philippines.
Yeah.
And what I notice is the atmosphere is totally different. You know, they don't listen to the same music we listen to. You know, they don't watch the same thing on TV. You know, they got their cell phones, but they're restricted from certain frequencies or certain bad language. So, you know, it's interesting because I'm there and it just seemed foreign, but the more I sat there, it's like, but this is peaceful. Like, this is like what heaven should feel like, you know? And they're so pleasant, they're so engaging, they're so nice, they're giving, they're family oriented, they take care of their elders. And but their government, I guess, or their culture, whatever, is like night and day from ours, you know. And even their life expectancies, 88, you know. Ours is 65 and below. So you know.
Well, that's another lie that the media is telling as well about when they talk about Russia, China, and places that they call the enemies of America. They don't want this type of media in their countries influencing their people. That's what they're fighting against. They tell you it's the Western culture that they're fighting against. The Western media. It's not the American people that they don't like. They don't like the people that's controlling America and feeding us all this false information about who our enemies are. Like Muhammad Ali said, we don't have no enemies. Them people never did nothing to me. But yet you want me to go over here and go to war for you?
Kill a bunch of innocent families.
Yeah.
You
children.
know, to steal their resources.
Yeah. Like them people, like what he said, Viet Cong, they never did nothing to us. They never did nothing to me and my family. I know to you what you've done to my family and my ancestors.
Yeah.
But ain't no Chinese or Russian never did nothing to my family, you know? You got these, well, I can't say Russian because you got these splinter Russians, what they call Khazars, that left Russia and became the Jews, who we're not even supposed to talk about. And that's who's controlling the Western media.
Right. Yeah.
See?
You can't say Jew here.
Yeah. If you do, you have to speak up in a positive light, you know, or it's anti-Semitic, you know. But other than that, you know, people don't know that the Jews, the Khazars, they came from Russia and went to Israel. And another thing, what the brother was saying earlier about when he was talking about Nigeria and South Africa, you wondering about the names of Nigeria and South Africa. See, people don't even know how 300 years before Jesus was born, King Alexander went to Egypt, invaded Egypt, sacked Egypt. But I keep saying Egypt because that's what we're taught. It was actually Kemet. He took over invaded Kemet, and renamed it Egypt. And so when King Alexander died, his 5 soldiers took over, and they split up all the different prophecies that King Alexander left them in their command, which from there, their families took over. And that's why you have all the different names in these different fragmented countries of Africa. It all goes back to King Alexander, which is why I say we can't go back to just slavery. We have to go all the way back to the Old Testament and start teaching from the book of Genesis, because this was 300 years before Jesus was born when all this shit happened. And then you understand what Jesus was talking about. You understand why an Ethiopian carried Jesus across the Calvary and what that meant. When Jesus told the Ethiopian, you will be with me in the kingdom of heaven. Why was the Ethiopian a slave? And things like that. Why were Black people already oppressed when Jesus was born and Jesus was walking? See, if we're the original Jews, like the Hebrews say, which they've been misinformed, why were they already oppressed when Jesus was born? Because that's a lie that they've been told. And they've been telling themselves and teaching their children. And then I just seen a recent post on Facebook where it was like the Igbo Jews, and they were saying, oh, we're the original Jews, but the picture was from the 1700s. I'm saying, like, did you hear me? The picture was from 1700s. They're talking about they're the original Jews. Like, come on, man. The date right there is telling you that you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's telling you, you're up under a whole other ideology that was forced upon you and your people. You know, because the J wasn't even around until the 1400s.
1524.
So how are you the original Jews if we were here before the J?
Yeah.
We were here before the J.
That's why they call them Jewish.
Yeah. Another thing, like you say, ish. We got to study those words, like when they call them ish.
Yeah.
And like, and there's a reason why it's called African, Mexican, American, Hawaiian, Samoan. There's a reason why we all got that same suffix at the end of our name. It all comes from colonization.
Yes. Labeling.
Yeah, and it goes back to 300 years before Jesus was born, which was King Alexander. So a lot of information is coming out on this here show today that's going to open up a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah.
So before we go, brother, I want you to tell us, Brother Jackson, tell the world where they could find you at. Tell us about some more books that you've written, if you have any other books, where people could find them at, because that's how we like to end the show. Letting people know where to find our guests at and what our guests have going on or got coming up.
Okay. Well, I'm really super proud of this book that's coming out. The Truth is the Cure. It has a lot of medicine in it, and it digs deep. You know, it's not for the weak. My projected time is Black Friday, and around Thanksgiving time, I'm already starting to put ads out for it or advertise or talk about it. But I'm really proud of that book. But one thing I want to say too is the truth is not popular, and when people speak up, it almost puts you in danger. You know, we had this thing, and then I'll make this short. We had this thing called Black Wall Street, where Black people were thriving. We had our own malls, hospitals, schools, everything. And I don't know if you're familiar with it in Africa or what that story is about, but the government came and just dropped bombs on it and just, killed a whole lot of people. Nobody went to jail. Nobody did anything. It just a burning city that just burnt down. So saying that, I've been sitting on a lot of this information for a while because, it's dangerous. But for some reason, the times that we're in now, it's not just me trying to expose these truths. So, I can't hold it back anymore, So yeah, I would definitely be pushing this, talking about it, promoting it. And I know it's not going to be popular, but the way that I break it down, hopefully it's in like a common sense form for a third grader, to comprehend. It's a lot of colonized lies, and I do a little history for the reader. I've written a couple books in the past, but nothing like this. Yeah, this is my baby.
Are they available online?
I'll say no, and I say that because it's not like this. It's I'd rather get behind this one, do another show with you guys and even open it up, read a couple pages, and just dig into it that way. If you guys will allow me.
Oh, of course.
But it's this one talks about Willie Lynch and Jim Crow and just how that stuff wasn't that long ago.
Well, I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma during the 100-year anniversary of the bombing for the Black Wall Street Massacre. And we were with the survivors and the descendants of the Black Wall Street Massacre. That was something that has never been done before, for people to go back and honor our ancestors and their descendants and survivors from the massacre. And it was real spiritual. It was a blessing to be able to connect with our people. And actually, one of the people who helped filmed it, they took a couple of the descendants to Africa. I think they took them to a few countries in Africa. And so, like I said, a lot came after that. And they tried to do it every year after that, but they couldn't really pull it off the way we pulled it off. So we could always go back and revisit. I think we should keep up that campaign of the 100-year, after the 100 years, we wanted to do it like every year so that people could always remember and never forget, but also feel the presence, be able to go to Tulsa and, and look around and tour and see that it's still in the same condition it was when they bombed it.
Really?
Yeah. And not just that, like, I think, white people didn't get to Tulsa, Oklahoma until 1890. And so it's like 30 years after they got there, they bombed it. And not just that, bro. The grandson of the mayor who authorized, because I didn't know that they used police helicopters to bomb the place. When we say bomb, they say they lit oil canisters and dropped the oil canisters down on our people so that it could spread and keep burning. And the mayor had to authorize them to use police helicopters to pull this off. His great-grandson or his grandson is the mayor of Tulsa right now. So the same bloodline that bombed our people is still in power.
Yes.
This should not be happening.
Right.
So these are the things that, like I say, our people need to come out their comfort zone, get off their butts, and go and see what's going on outside of their communities. But why they created these fragmented states, like in countries, like the brother King was saying, to keep us divided. All these borders just keep us divided. And I don't know why we have a sense of pride for these borders that keep us divided and make us want to claim streets and blocks and cities and stuff that don't even belong to us.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
It is. The whole world is ours. It's not, I claim Africa. I claim wherever, I want to go. Where I'm at. It's my people. I don't claim a religion. I want to know who you are. Like, I want to know your story. That's what's fascinating to me. Another person's
Yeah.
story, not who you serve, what religion you serve, that stuff. I could care less about that. I want to know, what was your childhood like? What was some of your experiences?
It's like you was talking about about the Philippines, and why I teach God created the rainbow to represent all different races of people.
Mm-hmm.
As a reminder, look, he didn't just create black people. He created white people. He created Filipinos. He created Mexicans. He created the Arabs. And like you were saying, when you went to the Philippines, you got a great understanding. You got a lot more knowledge than you would have had if you just went to Africa or went to another black country. You went to the Philippines, and it opened your eyes. You were enlightened by what you see, and it really,
Yeah.
touch your heart, left a lasting impression upon you that you
Yeah.
could share with other people about how
Right.
ignorant we are. For like, just I always say we're ignorant because we always look to our own kind. Like we just want to
Yeah.
associate or talk to our own people, our own kind. That's a form of insanity. That's
Yeah.
how big our ego is. When we're puffed up with pride, which is why the Bible says pride goes before destruction. But we don't understand
Mm-hmm.
what we're reading. And like I teach people, if you got an ego, you're never going to understand what you're reading.
Yeah.
If you have hate in your heart, you're never going to understand what you're reading. If you're a coward, you're never going to understand what you're reading. You're not going to understand what you're seeing. You're not going to understand what you're hearing. Being a
Yeah.
coward, having an ego, having hate in your heart, that blocks any type of understanding that God wants you to have.
Yeah.
So before we go, Brother King, let the world know where they can find your book set, and if they want to communicate with you, where they can find you at.
Oh, okay. So it's King Fazan Ajo on every social media platform. And Timothy, if you allow me to still reach out to the people out there, my GoFundMe account is still active. I want to go to Ghana. The election is coming up December, and my book called The 40 Voters Commandment, the one that is focused on Africa. I want much as many young people over across the continent to read this book, because the book has the potential to have every young person choose a leader, not based on tribe or based on religion, but based on their capability to rule. Because over the years, what they have done to us is that they force these leaders on us, and they use their religious cards or and tribal cards to have us vote for people who we know for sure that these people cannot deliver, do anything for us. So I put up a GoFundMe account, any amount, $5, $10, any amount that can help me, because I don't expect them to buy the book. I want to actually distribute it to as many young people. If I say I will distribute it electronically, it's not every young person that has a smartphone that can be reading the book on phones. Yeah.
Where can they find you at, Brother Gregory?
Uh, um, I'm actually still developing that TikTok right now. I'm on TikTok a lot. I have a Facebook page, um, YouTube account. I'm gonna have more of that stuff together next time we talk.
Okay.
I actually have a publisher now. We're developing all of that stuff as we get this book ready. I'm just putting out fillers now. So yes, I will. I'm connected to you guys on TikTok, so I'll be, sending out information, as I would hope that you guys also send me your information, and I can also promote it and pass it on, so that we can continue to get together and keep the mission that we're trying to accomplish going.
Hey, that's great. That's
No
great.
problem.
Yes.
An honor and a pleasure to have you on again. I would like to invite all the guests that we have on again for a roundtable discussion about how we can move our people forward. Like I said, we have a lot of people on our show, and none of them has a colonized mindset. They're all about kingdom building and bringing our people together from Africa to the Pacific Islands.
Yes.
We all got the same type of mindset that we want Africa and African people to own and control their own resources, and we just help them with that.
Yes.
That's how we go about building God's kingdom, one country at a time.
Yes.
So if you guys don't have anything else to say, we can wrap up the show and let our guests know that we appreciate for having them on and tuning in as always.
Thank you.
And whenever you have a show, send me a link, so I can also watch.
Okay, no problem. Appreciate you. So thank everyone. Go ahead, Brother King.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to explain something to the brother. The show is always pre-recorded. So after this one, Timothy will put it out. You can only see it by next Sunday.
Okay.
Yes.
If you have any type of commercials, anything that you want to promote, we can add it as a commercial and go from there. Yeah, because we like to promote our guests and whatever they're doing as much as possible. So that's one of the reasons we created this platform, to promote what our people is doing throughout the diaspora. We want to highlight leaders who are not just talkers but doers.
Yes. Okay. I appreciate your show. I appreciate you guys so much. You made my day.
Thank you. You made ours too.
Yes. And you're like a bright star in God's kingdom, so don't even worry about that.
Thank you, sir. You guys, yes.
So thank everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time. And everybody be blessed. We're out.
Thank you.